I'm Gab. He's Jules. Blue skies over West London. Jules, we're getting closer to the holiday. It is the holiday season. What am I talking about? And we'll be getting to the Coppa Italia and the League Cup and that big Paris Saint-Germain Monaco game. I hope Gigi Donnarumma is okay.
Yeah, he will be. Don't worry.
Otherwise, he can get Pogba's brother's friends maybe to go and visit that guy. Yeah, but whatever. But I want to start with an off-the-pitch story, a non-football story, because this stuff comes up occasionally.
Yeah.
So A22 Sports, which is a company behind the Super League,
Yeah.
if you remember about a year ago, they won. They said they won. UEFA dispute this, but there was a big court case with the European Court of Justice that said UEFA was a monopolist and it was anti-competitive. And they said, essentially, the upshot is UEFA has to allow other competitions provided they meet certain criteria.
Yeah.
Those criteria are that has to be open to every team. So teams from 55 different UEFA members, at least they can try to qualify. That qualification has to be merit-based. In other words, based on where you finish in your ranking. And UEFA wrote into the rules also, it has to be ethical. And also that UEFA wrote into the rules that it can't interfere materially with the UEFA competitions.
Okay.
Now, they'd say that this part is illegal. A22 says this is illegal by, what do you mean you don't interfere, don't disrupt your competition? That's what we're supposed to do. But they say, look, A22 says, all we want to do is put a proposal forward. So they put a proposal to UEFA, and they want UEFA to approve it.
Yeah.
And then teams can choose what competition they play in.
Okay.
On principle, are you okay with that?
I think that the European competitions work really well for me as they are now. So I don't need another one. I don't know what club would move away from the Champions League or the Europa League or the Conference League to go to the Unify League, which is the name that they've given, which I think is a ridiculous name because it's the Unify streaming
platform. Yeah,
that's right.
Which doesn't actually exist, but they're going to set up.
But it will exist. So I don't think we need another one, but hey, they can do what they want.
Right. Their argument is that European competition law guarantees choice, and there's choice. And we're going to talk about later about whether this could actually work, whether you could have two competitions running side by side. We had that in basketball 20 odd years ago, and that only lasted 1 year, of course. Because I think it's impossible for both to run side by side and make money.
Yeah.
We can break that down further a little bit later on. The other thing, though, is they say that their format is much better. And now, if you're wondering what the format is, I'm going to try to explain this to you really quickly. So there's 3 levels, if you like. There's the, starting from the bottom up, there's the Union League, the Blue League, and then there's a Star League and a Gold League.
Oh, right, okay.
So there's 4, but the 2 bottom ones have 32 teams in them. And the 2 top ones only have 16 teams. So at the very top is the Star League, 16 clubs, and then the Gold League, 16 clubs. And the way it works is, and this is the part where I just really wonder, would this be more exciting or not? Is that everywhere you have groups of 8.
Right.
In the top 2 leagues with your groups of 8, you play everybody home and away. So it would be 14 match days. The top 4 advance to the quarterfinals. And it's only the top 2, incidentally, in the leagues below. And then in the, because there's 4 groups. And then you have home and away semifinals, home and away quarterfinals, single leg semifinals, and a single leg final.
Okay.
So do you like the 14 game group stage to determine 4 teams to advance? Is this more exciting?
Why would it be more exciting than a group of...
Than the Swiss model?
Of 4, the Swiss model. And also, if they don't find that many teams, so 32 times 2, 64 teams they need for the 4 little divisions.
No, they need more than that because they need 96.
16 and 32.
16, 32, and 32. Remember, there's 4, right?
So
Star,
unless
Union,
all those teams say yes, it can't start, right?
Well, no, because you can take, if a team says no, you can take teams from further down the pyramid, right?
Right, okay. So we'll end up with a massive conference league competition, basically.
Don't be dissing the Conference League tonight. In a few hours,
No, I'm
it's
just saying.
exclusive
Because
Conference
what
League night.
if it's only the team that finish 9th and 10th in your league that say, okay, yeah, we'll fancy that because
That
we
is
can't get
obviously-
into the
look,
other European competitions.
That's obviously one of the challenges, right? They're saying
Yeah.
it's a new product. People have a choice. But we're going to break this down further because I kind of want people to understand what this is before they put thumbs up or thumbs down. All right, Jules, just with the format thing.
Yeah.
This is something that actually Andrea Agnelli, when he was president of the ECA and he wanted to reform the Champions League, and he said, oh, but it's more exciting to have a group of 8 playing home and away. It's more guaranteed games. It's 14 guaranteed games.
Yeah, instead of, if you had a group of 4 like you used to in the
Yeah,
Champions
back then it was 6 guaranteed games, obviously. But what I think one of the many weaknesses with this format, and yes, in the Star League and the Gold League, it's the top 4 advance, so you might have some jeopardy. But equally, you might also have teams that have qualified by match day 10.
Yeah,
And teams that are eliminated by match day 10.
that's true.
But even more so, when only 2 qualify out of the 8, what the hell are the others playing for?
Yeah, exactly. Which we had sometimes as well when we had a group of 4 in the Champions League before, with 2 games to go or a game to go. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure this moved the needle for me at all. And it's more that I think you could have a very, very wide range of teams then agreeing to go into this competition. So the value of it and the level of it overall, if you can't just have the 3 or 4 best teams of each country, but then go down to maybe the team that finished 7th or 8th with the team that finished
This is one of the things. So if the Champions League, if Chefrin shuts the Champions League tomorrow and all these teams went into this model, the guys at the FootBiz newsletter said, based, for example, on the current league standings, because we talk about how this is about the big teams and making more money and whatever, based on the rules that are part of the A22 proposal, these would be the teams in the Star League at the very
Right.
top, right? Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Atalanta, Inter, Napoli, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Bayern, Bayer Leverkusen, Paris Saint-Germain, and PSV Eindhoven. And then there would be some qualifiers.
So Man City are not there.
No, they wouldn't because they're currently 5th or 6th on the table. And that's
Sorry. Okay.
I think that's one of the things that, okay, if you view it purely from a money perspective, right? Take the whole sporting merit out of it, blah, blah, blah. View it purely from a business perspective. The original Super League had a business logic to it because you had the 15 biggest clubs. I mean, leaving aside Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, and Bayern said no, but in the original plan, they were there. So I got these 15 mega clubs.
Yeah.
I'll take 3, 5, 7, whatever other clubs, and then boom, I've got a Super League, right? So I've got the sponsors, I've got the fans, right? That had a commercial logic to it. Once you make it merit-based, you don't have that commercial logic, and you don't know what you're going to get. If this league had started this year, based on their rules, for example, Barcelona wouldn't be in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. This is the part that I struggle with. It's almost like there's no point to them anymore unless they can say, we can run a competition better than UEFA can.
And I guess it's all down to the money then. How much money will they make available? Because the only way that a club would want to switch from the Champions League or the Europa League, maybe not so much the Conference League, because I think you can offer more money than what it's given right now in prize money for the Conference League. But certainly the top 2 competitions, the only way that a club could say, okay, I actually don't want to play for you, UEFA and Champions League. I'm going to go and play for the Unify League if you offer them more money.
Not going to lie, I think you seemed a little bored before when I went through the formats, but I think now you've hit on something which is more important, right? For this to work, they say we want clubs to be able to choose. So if for them to choose this, the Unify League, it's going to be down to money, and it's going to be down to guaranteed money because that's what clubs want, right? They don't necessarily want to take risks, and to sort of convince them, they're saying we're going to revolutionize the way we make money, certainly on the media side, and sponsorship side. So they're going to create and presumably it's going to be owned by the clubs, I would assume, or by A22, a new streaming platform, which is exactly what everybody needs right now, called the Unify platform. And it's going to show all the games for free, supported by ads. Or if you want, you can have, and I quote, you can buy an affordable premium subscription where you don't see the ads, and maybe you have other little doodads like stats and stuff pop up on your screen. Now, well, first of all, from a business perspective, Jules, I want to get your view on this. This isn't rocket science, right? This is like we've had football on television with ads, for many years, right? And football itself is difficult to put ads in there, So to me, it says either you guys are going to be better at selling those ads than everybody who works in commercial television today, or how are you going to have more money? Are you going to change the rules and have quarters maybe so you can have more ad breaks? How does that work?
That's a very good question. And also, we know that obviously the most chunk of the TV, the prize money for the Champions League, for example, comes from TV right days from all around Europe,
TV
right?
and sponsorship,
So if I suspect could that streaming platform and the revenues that will bring can match what the Champions League and UEFA are making in selling the rights of the Champions League to more normal television channels?
Yeah, I mean, I know numbers don't mean much without context, but UEFA make about 4.4 billion a year from the sale of their European competitions. And they go and they redistribute, I think, about 3.4 billion to clubs.
Right.
This is clubs, Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League.
Okay.
Now, if you are Unify, you don't just have to bring in 4.4 billion. You have more costs because you have to set up the streaming platform. You have to market it. You have to produce the games, which means that you need to send the camera people and everything. That has a cost too. And those are costs that
probably
right now
around 50 million, more 15 to 75 million. I think for the league, it would cost you between 50 and 100 million a season just to produce.
I would have thought maybe more than that, but I generally don't know. You would know better than me. So you have to bring all these costs in, and you can say, oh, but UEFA aren't a lean operation. So I looked at this, and UEFA take about something like 130 odd million is kind of what costs UEFA, what it would cost UEFA to organize a competition, right?
Yeah.
So you could say we can do that better and cheaper, fine. And then UEFA also take a big chunk out in solidarity payments, which means that they go either to clubs who don't participate or clubs who've been eliminated from the playoffs, or they go into UEFA's coffers and then get redistributed to all the national associations. And you can say, well, we're not going to do that. That's fine, but you're saving yourself at a maximum $500 million there.
Yeah.
Where's the other money going to come from?
If you are provided.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Manchester United, for example, assuming they qualify for this stuff.
Well, they might be, because everybody else is going to say no, so they can say yes.
Do I want to be a business partner in a streaming venture where I don't know if I'm going to make any money? I'm going to want guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So where is the guaranteed money going to come from? Because putting $5 billion down, I think that's like a minimum of what they would have to guarantee, right? Definitely. And then you sell what you can out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Who's going to do that?
That's a good question. I don't know. And even the platform itself, you talked about basketball, the EuroLeague is on a streaming platform called Squeak, if you like your basketball in Europe or wherever you live. And it's just not really working out for clubs. It's not working out for, I don't think, anybody really. So...
And we should point out, EuroLeague basketball, we're both basketball fans, right? And people can make fun of the EuroLeague. And we're in England where people don't know what basketball is, right? But the EuroLeague is easily, I think, the most successful basketball product in the world outside of
the NBA.
Outside of the NBA. I should say professional. Actually, I was going to say professional basketball product in the world outside of the NBA. Then I remembered, thanks to name, image, likeness, college basketball, maybe like the ACC or the Big Ten. But whatever.
Yeah.
You get my point.
Yeah.
And they all lose money.
Yeah.
All these clubs lose money. Real Madrid and Barcelona have to subsidize, the football team subsidizes the basketball team.
Yeah.
So, and this is the most popular
And it's
spectator sport.
Yeah, and it's a similar concept, really.
So that's what I kind of struggle with this. Now, reactions to this have been interesting because nobody has reacted to it except for Javier Tebas. But that's because Javier Tebas reacts to everything.
Yeah.
And he said it was a joke. Are they just going through the motions now? They say the case that Florentino said, I put this money to these people.
Yeah, because I know you've been following this far closer than I have. Didn't they announce a few months ago that they had already 15 clubs that have said yes, and like maybe the likes of Anderlecht and club like that, or I've just made that up?
No.
Or maybe they didn't reveal the names, but didn't they say that they had already the yes from some European clubs?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are some clubs that have said that they would do. I mean, but funnily enough, I mean, it's clubs who are not in the UEFA competition. So Napoli, for example, in the summer, De Laurentiis says, yes, this is a great idea. Look, you know.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, dude, because you know, you're not busy midweek, right? Whether you feel differently with this model. Now, I think we are in that kind of situation. Florentino Perez, when he had the members meeting, the assembly, he said, "Oh no, that's going to start in September 2025." And it's like, okay, you going to be there, or are you going to be defending your Champions League title that you might win? To me, it really feels like posturing.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing, they say that essentially the way, again, and I am not a lawyer, the way UEFA wrote the rules about, because essentially what the judgment said is like, UEFA, you can't stop or punish people from starting their own league if they meet these criteria, right? So it's sporting and merit, we said before. And UEFA said, okay, yeah, we'll allow them if they meet this criteria. The way I read the criteria is they can't interfere with the UEFA competitions.
So that means what? Different dates to the season dates?
Well, that's the thing. They can't be different dates because the match calendar, because they have to respect the match calendar. So we'll be on the same nights. But they say you can't, this is A22.
So you could not play on a Tuesday night when there's already Champions League?
No, you can. You have to because it's a FIFA match calendar.
Yeah, but does that interfere with UEFA?
No, UEFA. The interference is you can't take teams that have qualified for UEFA competitions and put them in your competition.
Okay.
So A22 says, wait a minute, then we're not free to choose, right?
Yeah.
The club can't choose because then you're not going to give us permission. So I'm guessing this is going to sit with lawyers. There might be more legal action. It does seem like, I'm not in favor of this, but it seems a bit unfair from UEFA saying like, because you're not really giving people choice.
No,
right?
That's true.
That said, this seems up in the air. And I think it's obvious too that commercially this can't get off the ground. Both competing with some big clubs in one, some big clubs in the other is going to really hurt both competitions.
Definitely.
So we don't think.
I don't think so either.
All right. But hey, A22, Bernd
good
Reichert, if you want to talk to us, you know where we are. You had a bunch of meetings in London yesterday. Did you call me and say, Gab, do you want to talk to me? No. So this is why I'm just going to react to the stuff that you put out, which frankly is kind of nonsense. All right, enough A22. Maybe, hopefully, forever. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Real Madrid beat Pachuca 3-0 to win the Intercontinental Cup, which makes them world champions. Jules, some will scoff. This is the competition between the winners of the Champions League, the Libertadores, all the Confederations Cups. But I think this is actually a thing. Yeah. And it was nice to see both Vinicius and Kylian Mbappe out there.
Yeah, it was. And in the end, I think kind of knew that Real Madrid would win, although the start of the game was quite competitive. And after that, Kylian Mbappe scored the first goal, nicely set up by Vini after a ball from Jude Bellingham. So all the big boys involved. Vini scored one. Rodrigo scored a lovely goal. Two, I'm just saying Real Madrid have won 2 trophies already this season, European Super Cup and then this Intercontinental Cup. And in each of those 2 finals, Kylian Mbappe scored.
Carlo Ancelotti now. Since you count these as trophies, Carlo Ancelotti has apparently won more trophies now than any Real Madrid manager in history.
And Luka Modric has won 28 trophies for Real Madrid, more than anybody else as well.
I'm sure these are all really important to them. I want to say though, in this game, I was struck by how minimalist it was in the sense that minute 60, I think Pachuca had like taken more shots. They had a higher XG and whatever, but it was just so one-sided. Real Madrid not flustered at all.
No, at all. Mikhailo Mudryk has been provisionally suspended by the Football Association in England after testing positive from a bad substance even. Gab, what do you make of all of this?
So, according to reports in Ukraine, the substance is meldonium, which sounds like something out of the Marvel universe.
That's true.
I'm just fascinated by this. Now, I know you have a medical background and I don't, but meldonium was actually invented in the 1970s by this mad chemistry professor from Latvia. Okay, maybe he's not mad, but we like calling him that.
They usually are.
And it's something that it increases your resistance, it reduces fatigue, it increases the flow of oxygen, blah, 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 which I think is kind of cool that somebody in the lab can make this. Obviously, it's not intended as a performance-enhancing drug. This is the drug that I think came to most people's attention in 2015 because Maria Sharapova tested for it. It is not available in most of the West. So
no in the US or no in Western Europe, but it's quite frequent to use it in Eastern Europe. In Eastern Europe, like in Russia, I think they take it like a normal tablet.
Yeah, I mean they gave it to I think also the Soviet army soldiers in at altitude in Afghanistan in the 1980s. Upshot of this, obviously, he says, no, I did not take this knowingly. We'll see what happens. The maximum ban here is 4 years.
Yeah.
If you can prove you didn't take it knowingly, it'll be reduced. He's got the same lawyers who represented Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta rings the changes and Arsenal go a goal down before none other than Gabriel Jesus
Gabby
bags a hat-trick and they win 3-2 to advance to the League Cup semifinals. Jules, I think it was quite sweet afterwards. I think his appeal for more minutes about, I always score goals.
Yeah, and to be fair, it was a really good hat-trick.
I think it's been like a year since his last goal, something like that.
Something like that, okay, he missed a couple of chances when he played against Monaco in the Champions League, for example. The first goal is lovely. And I think he's good. It's his first hat-trick, obviously, for Arsenal since joining. So he's good. He offers you something slightly different to Kai Havertz, obviously. I would think that if you're Arteta and one of your forwards scores a hat-trick, even if it's just the League Cup quarterfinals against Crystal Palace, that momentum is important. So I would not be surprised if he plays a bit more in the next few games.
I would think if you're Arteta, you see him in training every day, and I would trust his judgment of that of him versus Havertz. Sorry, I'm team Arteta on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Juventus stomp all over Cagliari in the Coppa d'Italia as Dusan Vlahovic gets back on the score sheet. All well again then for Thiago Motta?
Hey, context. Cagliari don't care about this. They want to worry about staying up. They played a lot of their scrubs. But that said, it was important for Juve to show that, hey, we can take the game. We can play Moscow goals from last year, score goals. Teun Koopmeiners scored I think it's his first goal for Juventus.
Yeah.
And Nico, go check out the highlight of, a huge run, huge chip from Nico Gonzalez. And you know what? Easy to forget, but I think this might have been his first start since his injury.
Yeah.
I think he can move the needle.
He was great in the Champions League before the injury, yeah.
Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes, Gab.
It was a wild one in the Principality, but Paris Saint-Germain overcome Monaco 4-2 with 2 late goals. Thank you, Gonzalo Ramos. Obrigado. Jules, tell me my boy Gigi Donnarumma is going to be okay after nearly being decapitated.
Yeah, let's start there because this was one of the image of the night. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Incredible after just 17 minutes. Singo, the Monaco right back, is going through on goal and Donnarumma comes out. And I think Singo tries to chip the ball over Donnarumma and continues his effort with his foot. Basically, the chip doesn't really work because the ball doesn't actually.
Maybe you should leave the chips to the attacking players.
I know, but I guess in that position, that's the right thing to do. To be fair to him, but then his foot with the studs, his boot, just continues the movement really of the chip. So imagine his leg is going up as Donnarumma is coming out to block the shot. And the boot and the studs end up on Donnarumma's face, really hurting him. I mean, his face now is just like really, really swollen up and tumefied. No yellow card, no red card. This is how we roll in France. Why not? You almost took his head off. But
Do you think it was a foul?
Yeah, it was not given even as a foul. So no,
That's what I mean. It wasn't even given as a foul.
No, the referee just said that it was not intentional.
It was a coming together.
And not coming together, but the word is I can't remember the exact word.
Incidental contact.
Something like that. Basically saying like it was just his movement for the shot, and then after that, what else did you want him to do? Which is true. It doesn't look like single. There's nothing else he can do, I guess, but it's 100%. He was only on a yellow, by the way, so he was at least a second yellow, maybe even straight red. Donnarumma had to come up. He's okay, but had to come off. And then we had a great game of football, really. PSG outstanding, I thought, for most of it. Monaco came back really well in that start of the second half, went from 1-1 down to 2-1 up at home. And then PSG turned things around again. And Dembele, Doué, Fabian Ruiz, they were all very good. And it was an outstanding game, really.
Gonzalo Ramos off the bench. And obviously,
third game in a row where he scores.
But what struck me was even in injury time at 3-2, right? Before, because Dembele scored the fourth. Great goal, by the way. It's on the counters, garbage time, 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But they had a huge chance before that at 3-2. Monaco in injury time.
Yeah, Akliush serving Minamino literally on the plate, and he can't saw his feet out. No, it was a really good game from start to finish.
And it's amazing that Monaco's crazy, loud, raucous home support didn't see them over the crowd.
12,000 fans, which is a lot in the winter in Monaco, trust me. Marcus Rashford tells Henry Winter that he's ready for a new challenge. He was left out of the squad at the weekend, and he's out of the squad again for the League Cup game against Spurs on Thursday night, so tonight. What sort of challenge do you think he's thinking about? And what was the response from Ruben Amorim?
So Ruben Amorim says, gee, I wish he'd told me this first before telling Henry Winter. It's sad because Marcus Rashford is being really, really badly advised. Now, I get it. You want to play more, you want to experience more, whatever, you want to go. This is not the way to do it, to come out, I want a new challenge after you've been dropped for the Manchester Derby at the weekend. Again, I don't understand what you're trying to do. Surely you must realize that you have 3 years left on your contract, that you are vastly overpaid relative to what you've been contributing of late,
absolutely.
To the fact that you make so much money that the only teams that could afford to pay these kinds of wages are teams who are not going to sign you because they have better players than you. I mean, I don't know. With all due respect, am I going to take Vini or Marcus Rashford? Am I going to take Mbappe or Marcus Rashford? Am I going to take Lamine Yamal? Not that they could afford him, or Marcus Rashford. So why are you doing this? You are stuck here for another 3 years. The only way you move is if you take a massive pay cut.
Yeah, probably.
And then come out and say that. No, seriously. No, have the stones to come out and say that.
Yeah.
I just think this makes him, and we know he's a really, really good person, but he is being really, really badly advised here.
Yeah, I agree.
Back to that Paris Saint-Germain game. Randall Colomwani was left out of the matchday squad, and has started 2 league games this season, Jules. So that's 2 more league games than you have for Paris Saint-Germain.
Exactly.
Speculation continues to mount.
Yeah, I think he will leave in January. Initially, I don't think he wanted to leave. He wanted to try and prove to Luis Enrique what he could do. He's obviously a Paris-born and bred kid, so it meant a lot, I think, for him to wear that shirt and play at the Parc des Princes. It's just not working out. Luis Enrique doesn't like him. I think we can say now he doesn't like him, doesn't fancy him as a player, doesn't think he's good enough to play in his team and in his system. So what do you do then?
You go to Arsenal on loan. It's a short Eurostar ride from Paris, since he's Paris-born and bred.
Yes, that's right.
There's other players there who speak French. I'm sure Leandro Trossard speaks French.
And Saliba.
Maybe
and
Saliba too. Jorginho, definitely. And you can be Havertz's backup. You can get a lot of playing time playing on the wing. Especially, he can play on the left side, right?
Yeah, he can play
where,
everywhere.
Frankly, both Martinelli and Trossard have been laying eggs all season.
Yeah.
And if you like it, maybe you work something out.
Yeah.
Have I solved it?
Yeah, but I think a club like Monaco, I don't think Arsenal will go for Colomani, but I think
they should on loan.
In Germany, I think Monaco, who really need a striker.
Because Balogun's out for a long, long time.
Months. Yeah. And Bolo is not, I know he scored last night, but he's not really the most efficient either. So we'll have to see, but this can't continue for Colomani. Otherwise, it would put in danger even his place in the national team. So he has to do something.
I think the only times he's played 90 minutes this year have been for France.
Yeah, and for France, it's been amazing. I think he scored 6 goals in 10 in 2024, something crazy like that. Sandro Tonali scores twice as Newcastle beat Brentford 3-1 to advance to the League Cup semi-final. Gabby needed this.
Yeah, I mean, up to the year out, then he comes back. He's up and down. Let's face it, he's not great. He's not a goal scorer, but he can score goals. That second goal especially, I thought very well taken.
Yeah.
And look, for Newcastle, the League Cup is their European football. I mean, you saw it in the lineups we saw last night.
Very
Arsenal
strong team.
and Liverpool putting out a B team, and Newcastle putting out what I think pretty darn close to the best 11. Arne Slot, speaking of, is true to his word. He rests a bunch of players and still wins away at Southampton 2-1. Jules, I was excited to see Harvey Elliott score.
I thought of you when I saw him scoring. Lovely goal as well, by the way. He had a great game. I thought about you about Wataru Endo, who played in this kind of false centre-back, kind of hybrid midfielder.
False centre-back because he's little and he's not a centre-back.
Exactly,
That's what makes it false.
position. But he was great. He was great on the ball. Okay, Southampton are really a dire team without a manager even. So this was pretty straightforward for Liverpool. Darwin Núñez also scored, which is great for his confidence. Jota came on. So I think it was, apart from maybe the goal they conceded, it's a lovely goal by Arsenal.
Glad you got to see Tyler Morton after having Scousers tell us how great he was.
Me too. So I think a great night overall from a Liverpool.
Maybe not for Jarell Quansah, but...
I still think that it was good for everyone. This was back on Monday night, Gab. Inter recorded an emphatic win, beating Lazio 6-0 in Rome. As the bubble burst for Marco Baroni?
He took responsibility afterwards. I think Inter ran up the score. These things that don't normally happen.
7 shot on target.
I think it was like five of them in the second half, something like that. Yeah. The game changed with the penalty. I thought it was... I think it was a right call, but I think it was certainly a controversial call. And then after that, the floodgates open, and you're lost. You try to get back into it. I think Maroni's going to be a phenomenal team. Lazio have reinvented themselves with cheaper, better players, or players who can perform as well as the big names that they lost. And I think that's important. But I think Inter are next level up from them.
Yeah, they are.
Jules, everybody says they're relaxed about it, but multiple outlets report there is a serious risk that Barcelona might not be able to register Dani Olmo for the second half of the season, and that there's a clause whereby if he's not registered, he can cancel his contract and leave as a free agent.
But we knew that we would get there in December, January, obviously, because already back in the summer when they signed him for 60 million, it took them a long time to register him. The only way they managed to do it was this loophole that because Christensen had a long injury, you could kind of use his wages to register somebody else on your wage bill, which was already a bit dodgy. And now we are back.
It's not dodgy. The rules allow it.
Yeah, but it's still a bit weird that you use the salary space from somebody in your salary cap. But anyway, so we're back there. Anyway, I don't know. I know there's a few levers again or similar to levers they can use to register him, but that's not the way it should be anyway.
To be fair to Barcelona, and I do want to be fair to Barcelona here. Part of the problem is, remember when they sold Barca Studios?
No, I know.
The guys, and again, they should have been smarter. Who am I selling to? The jokers who bought 50% of it, he didn't pay. So there's a hole in their finances.
True, which is true.
There is another option. Board members can put up personal guarantees.
But surely that's not the right way of doing it.
That's happened before.
Yeah, I know, but that's strange. Atalanta keep rolling along. They destroyed Cesena in the Coppa Italia 6-1.
Yeah, I mean, this is all set up for Atalanta at home, Serie B side, not a particularly good Serie B side either. On the night.
Strong team from Gasp as well.
And how about Zappa Costa showing that, like I famously once said, who needs Diego Costa when you've got Zappa Costa? And how about the Prince, Charles de Ketelaere? Is he left-footed? Is he right-footed? Does it matter? No, because you're striking the ball.
Yeah.
He oozes class. Look, they're in a really good position. They want to win this too. We'll see how things progress. Curious to see what they do in January. Also back on Monday, Bournemouth and West Ham draw 1-1, which means Julian Lopetegui lives to fight another day, as it should be. And by the way, did his father die or is he just not well?
His father
died.
Yeah.
Also back on Monday, Bournemouth and West Ham draw 1-1, which means Julian Lopetegui, by the way, condolences, lives to fight another day. But Jules, Andoni Iraola is pretty angry about that penalty award for the Tyler Adams handball.
He thought that was really harsh and shouldn't have been given. It was a crazy end of the game between the Paqueta penalty and then the wonderful free kick from Munal to get the point for Bournemouth, who had plenty of chances. I mean, both teams, to be fair, I thought it was quite a good game considering West Ham's struggles so far this season. And to go to Bournemouth and have a decent performance. So it's just a draw and doesn't really move anything for either, because Bournemouth could have gone over City had they won that game and really might feel disappointed. But I thought that was a good point from a West Ham point of view.
I love Iraola. I think he's phenomenal in a slotless world. I think he would be a definite candidate for manager of the year. But why is he annoyed about the penalty? Tyler Adams.
I know, he thought it was harsh. Yeah.
Arms are all up in the air. Like that gets given. Gab,
we have an Artem Dovbyk sighting. He scores twice as Roma rolled to a 4-1 win over Sampdoria in the Coppa Italia.
Yeah, this is one of those games. This is one of the issues with the Coppa Italia. You have two teams that are doing really badly.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, God, we have to play this game. But I think for Roma, it was an opportunity for some of the guys who haven't played as much, like Sule, like Dovbyk, like Pellegrini, to go and show what they could do. It was always going to be a win over Sampdoria. And I think he needs the big man firing. I don't want to see Paulo Dybala playing up front. I don't really want to see Paulo Dybala at all. And guess what? Roma don't want to see him either, because the narrative that they're putting out is that, like, oh, everything would have been different if we'd only been able to sell Paulo Dybala over the summer. When there was remember that offer that they all talked about?
Yeah.
Which I don't think, and I said so on the show, I don't think ever existed.
Yeah.
You're putting out a really stupid narrative and you should cut it out. Rodrigo Bentancur's appeal over a 7-game ban for the Heung-min Son incident has been rejected. Jules, are you okay with this?
We knew it would be rejected really by the FA, but we also said that 7 was a lot and probably too harsh, too strict, too much. That 3 or 4 would have been enough. I think he got his lesson, he understood. Heung-min Son said they've all moved on from it. So 7 feels really, really, really harsh. But again, we know how the appeal system works here, and there was no way they would have cut that down.
All I'm going to say here is, what is your goal with this kind of ban, right? Once he recognizes his error, once the victim of his error says, oh, I never had an issue with it, blah, blah, blah. Once you're satisfied that he's educated. I guess
they're making a point, but like an example.
I don't know. I just don't see the point of 7. What 7 games makes the example, but 3 games does not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If they made it 15 games, would it be even more of an example?
It is harsh. According to multiple reports, Everton's takeover by the Friedkin Group will be approved today. Gab, remind Toffees what they have to look forward to, please.
Well, you have to look forward to an ownership group that are really, really rich. I mean, the Friedkin Group, I think they had revenues of like 14 billion last year.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the richest people that nobody's heard of in the business world. The dad, Dan Friedkin, was a stuntman and flies his own planes. At Roma, I think the Swiss Ramble had this out, because Roma lost like 800 million euros over the last 5-6 or since they took over, something like that. And if you factor in the amount of money the Friedkins put in to acquire the club, they're around about $1 billion, which is pretty extraordinary. And they don't take on debt; it's their own money putting in it. Now, are they productive? Productive owners? They're extremely high profile. They're getting destroyed at Roma, partly for the way it ended with Jose Mourinho, partly for the way it ended with Daniele De Rossi. They have a different leadership style. It might work better in the Premier League, but only if they appoint the right people to go and speak for them. It's very odd the way they run their club. But like I said, compared to so many grifters out there, compared to so many weirdos, these people, at least they put their skin in the game and they stand behind it. Let's talk Women's Champions League. Not too many key clashes in match day 6. Most of the groups were decided, but there were a couple. Yeah. Arsenal's comeback win against Bayern stood out. That's pretty dramatic. And Barcelona got the revenge win over Manchester City to top the group. Was it like Barcelona, when Barcelona lost the City the first time around, it was like their first defeat in a billion games.
Yeah, I think since that final against Lyon a couple of years ago. And they won 3-0, which means that they topped their group. For Arsenal, they had to beat Bayern in London on Wednesday night to top their group because they lost to Bayern, obviously, earlier in the year in this group stage. And Bayern were good in that game. It was a really good game, to be fair, with a lot of things happening. And when Arsenal were 2-1 down, you thought, maybe not. But then set pieces saved them. Then they had a late penalty that Mariona Caldente scored to win 3-2 and for Arsenal to top their group, which obviously is very good when the draw would be made for the quarterfinals that will happen in March.
So they just get to play Barcelona a little bit later.
Well, yeah, at least you're sure to avoid them in the quarterfinals, which is what everybody would want. The Telegraph here in England report that Liverpool and Manchester United fans will join forces in a protest against ticket prices when they face off on January 5th. Gab, it's a good idea?
I mean, fans need to be heard. I think it's pretty obvious that, as a supporter, when you come out and you say, or you ask them, oh, do you think your ticket prices are too high? Very few are going to say, no, they're about fair. Actually, this is a really good deal. I should get a little more. It's a complex thing. It has to do with, obviously, the owners. The owners are in it to make money. Now, I think these situations are a little bit different between Liverpool and United because, to my knowledge, and I stand to be corrected, the people who own Liverpool, Fenway Sports Group, they don't take massive dividends. They don't lump debt onto the club. And what money they make, they generally reinvest. At United, it was a different story for a long time under the Glazers. Then they made large losses, and now they're trying to jack it up. It's really difficult. People in the U.S. look at this and say, well, wait a minute. Attending, forget the NFL, because that's a different panel. But attending an NBA game or attending even a freaking NHL game, will cost me as much as going to Old Trafford and Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, going to an MLS game will probably cost the same. Going to an MLS game might cost more. And what I would say is different history, different profile of fan, different economic reality. And I don't know. I mean, I think for United, it's more of an issue right now than for Liverpool, but people are always in lookout. And I think clubs also realize we're not going to make money through ticket prices for the rank and file. We'll make our money
with boxes,
through skyboxes, commercial partnerships, and so on. Jules, we had bad news for Barcelona fans earlier with the Dani Olmo news, but let's get them excited now because Ibrahim Diarra has turned 18, which means he can now be registered as a first-team player.
That's right. If you remember the last Under-17 World Cup, he was outstanding with Mali. They paid 2.5 million euros for him to the academy that he went through and that produced him in a way.
It's like Club Africain or something?
Yeah, something like that. So a very exciting player, winger with a lot of pace and skill and very strong. And I think a lot of people are very excited to see him in La Masia setup kind of things for the reserve team and the youth teams. He's joining another of the star of that Under-17 World Cup in Noah Davic, who won it with Germany, obviously. So it looks very good for the future as well from a Barcelona.
I think he's been training with Barcelona, obviously, already, since November.
But now he can finally play,
now he can finally play,
yeah. So it's good. The Lille president, Olivier Létang, has spoken out on Wednesday night over the Victor Osimhen deal that took him from Lille to Napoli a couple of years ago. Gab, remind everyone about this because it's incredible and the story hasn't gone away at all.
Yeah, this remains one of the mysteries of football. Now, this happened before Olivier Létang under Gerard Lopez, and before the current owner came in, Alessandro Barnaba and his group. Basically, we all reported he went from Lille to Napoli for 70 million.
Yeah.
So first of all, we know that 20 million of that wasn't actually cash. It was 4 players, 3 of them youth players, one of them like a 37-year-old backup goalkeeper on an expiring contract. I don't think they ever actually went to Lille because they were loaned straight back to different situations. Letang says those 4 guys were worth 0.
Yeah.
And there was a ton of commissions paid on this.
Yeah.
Letang says only 7 million actually made it into the club's bank accounts.
I find that incredible, though.
he assumes his own responsibility for what he says. I mean, 70 million, take off the 20 for the 4 fictional
Yeah,
players.
that's 50. What?
That's
and so
40.
43 million have gone into commissions, retro commissions, and stuff like that.
I don't know. This is kind of what like there's
Yeah.
I mean, there are serious police inquiries in
Yes.
France
And in
in Italy right
Yeah.
now. I think from Napoli's perspective, say like, hey guys, we paid the money. We said these guys are worth 20 million, whatever. I think there was a factor about needing to inflate the fee to make it look like it was 70 million.
Yeah.
To satisfy certain things on the books. I don't know, but it's such an odd story, and it's sad for Lille that they inherited the situation.
Absolutely.
It's time! It's time! It's texter time! Jules, according to the Daily Mail, he has he's got this new group called Sportsbank, the preferred bidders for his 45% stake in Crystal Palace, and the deal is imminent, which I guess he can use this money now to keep the DNCG from relegating Lyon. It's 100 million he needs.
He needs 100 million. It seems like he's selling his shares for 230 million pounds.
That's what he says.
So that's what he says. So 250, which is more than we thought he would ever get, right?
If it happens,
Yeah, considering that once you buy the shares, you own 45%, but actually, in terms of influence on the club and what you say, your voice is worth
25%,
right? So, not as much power as you think you might get. So good luck to Sportsbank, who are two Crystal Palace fans from South London. So at least we like that. We like that fans can get, as rich as they are, obviously, can get involved into their own club.
There's some suggestion that they might actually be buying into some formula, maybe buying into Eagle Football Group, which of course includes Libertadores champions Botafogo, champions of nothing Molenbeek.
That's right.
And Lyon possibly relegated. But by the way, that 100 million for Lyon, I was listening to a podcast about, who can they sell to raise that 100 million? And obviously, Ryan Cherky is the obvious asset.
Him and Fofana are the two highest.
Malik
value.
Fofana, yeah?
Yeah, Malik Fofana, yeah.
But the guy's 19 years old.
He's still worth easily 40.
Okay.
Like Cherky, yeah.
So Cherky presumably is not going to want to leave unless it's to a big club, because he's got to deal through 2026, right?
But if they don't qualify for, he wants to play in the Champions League. He wants to play for France. So he needs to play.
Does he want to play for Italy? He said he's got.
Yeah, but no.
Not going to happen.
So I think, but then you've got players like Cacré, like Nuama, who are good players who would go, but not. You would have to sell a lot of them to get to 100 million. Whereas I think Cherky and Fofana together could get you very close to it. So he needs to find more money. So he's going to move some of the money from account to account and hope for the best.
Can you explain to me again? I just want to remind us. This is what. Sorry, JT, but we've said so many nice things about you recently. Now we need to balance it back out. In August, they know they're heading towards a situation.
Yeah.
And they go and they buy like everybody and their mother in the last weeks of the transfer window. And you get things like Orel Mangala. Can you explain this?
So, the loan from Mangala to Everton?
Why?
Well, they could not sell him, so at least...
But why they sign him?
Well, they signed him, they had him on loan before with the obligation to buy. So, he came in January with Ben Rama.
But then 6 months later, we don't want you anymore.
I know. It's been a bit of a shamble. But at least it seems like they're in a better shape now with the way the way it's structured. Daniel Congré is their kind of technical director. Louis Jean is their kind of head of recruitment. So it looks better, but you're right. They will still need to find 100 million somewhere.
And they have a lot of older players on big wages like Tolisso and Lacazette.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, the worst for me, I think, is Wilfried Zaha.
But he's on loan too, isn't he?
He's on loan, but... at least bring somebody on loan that you're going to play, because he's not even... I don't even think sometimes he makes the bench.
Maybe they brought him on loan for the privilege of paying his wages.
Yeah, maybe. You're right, maybe. Genoa said goodbye to the 777 gang because they have a new owner. It's good news for the historic Serie A club. Well, I guess the oldest even.
That's right. Winners of 9 Serie A titles.
Yeah.
Okay, so the man name is Dan, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Suku,
yeah.
He's the owner of Rapid Bucharest. Good news is 777 are kind of cauterized at this point, to use a medical term. Essentially, didn't really buy the club. The club needed a capital increase, and obviously 777 don't have any money because they have the legal bills and whatever. So he put in 40 million, got 77% of the club. Not a bad deal. Okay, I'm only gonna. This is really childish and stupid, but I still think it's slightly funny. Dan Suchu he made his money originally. He's an entrepreneur. He's active in different fields, but he made his money originally with a company called Mob Expert,
Right.
which has nothing to do with the mob. It has to do with furniture.
Okay.
Just-
Yeah. Sofas. He sold sofas.
I
didn't
made
he?
the joke once, Mob Expert, and so now we can move on. I won't do it again. Promise. Hold me to it.
He also, I think, presented the Apprentice Romanian version. You know the show
Really?
The Apprentice. Yeah.
He's the Donald Trump of Romania. Well,
He
except
is,
he hasn't
yeah.
entered
Oh,
politics
Lord
yet.
Sugar. Yeah.
CAF gave out their African Football of the Year awards, and it's Ademola Lookman
Well
and
done.
Barbara Banda.
Yeah.
You okay with that, Jules?
Absolutely, they both fully deserve it. Ademola Lookman looked stunning with his mum and dad arriving in the traditional robe. He had a lovely speech that he prepared. He's been obviously wonderful, not just in the Europa League final against Bayer Leverkusen and his hat-trick with Atalanta, but just overall in 2024. It's been an incredible year. And Barbara Banda as well. She's been wonderful in the NWSL. So they fully deserve it.
Winning the league title, of course, with Orlando.
Yeah.
But hey, just for all those Scousers out there, Liverpool fans, who say, like, wait a minute, fully deserved, what about Mohamed Salah? What do you say to them?
I said that Salah has been, I think, really good, but not to the level, I think, of what Ademola Lookman brought both for team and country.
And yeah, Salah didn't win anything, right?
The League Cup? Yeah, but still.
Okay, the other dude won the Europa League anyway.
True,
Yeah, okay,
true.
thank you.
Pep Linders has been sacked as coach of RB Salzburg. How sad. Gab, is it a bit weird that this happened just a few days before his old friend Jurgen Klopp takes over as head of the Red Bull organization?
I'm not going to claim to be an expert on Austrian football, but this is, I do know what their budget is reportedly relative to the other teams in the league. They are fifth.
Yeah, terrible.
They were 10 points back. It's
Terrible.
inevitable and they stunk it up in the Champions League as well. Though not as bad as that other Red Bull club, Leipzig. So yeah, no, you got to go. I think that totally makes sense. It is slightly odd, given that how close he supposedly is to Jurgen Klopp. Klopp's taking over in a few months.
A few days, even 1st of Jan.
1st of Jan.
Yeah.
There you go. I presume that they have some sort of Christmas break, so that it is Austria after all. There's snow. They all go to the Christmas markets. Did they purposely do this so that Klopp wouldn't have to be the one telling him?
Surely Klopp said, "Listen, do it now because I don't want to do it in 10 days' time."
Yeah, I would assume
Surely.
so. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just shocked that they kept it going
Yeah, that
until
long,
now,
to be fair.
when the situation was so dire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pep Linders, I believe, originally. I thought Klopp had brought him with him, but no. Apparently, as we learned last night, because I forget things, he was a Brendan Rodgers guy.
Yeah, he was there before Klopp. Yeah. Then left and then come back.
Jules, you love awards.
Yeah, I
I
do.
love making fun of them.
You do.
FIFA the Best named Vini and Aitana as the top men and women players of the years. Now, we need to remind people what the jury looks like here.
Yeah.
It's not just a bunch of journalists from irrelevant countries, as Florentino said is true of the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
It is the captains of national teams. It is the coaches of
Leo
national
Messi,
teams.
yeah, voted.
It is a bunch of journalists from, many of them from irrelevant countries, as Florentino might put it. And there's also a fan vote. So there's four
from everywhere.
components.
Exactly.
They're all weighted equally.
Yes, that's right.
Real Madrid must like this more than the
They
Ballon d'Or.
like it, of course they do. I mean, pretty much the coaches and the media voted for Rodri, and the captains and the fans for Vini. There was a bit of Rodri there too. There was a bit of Kylian Mbappe somewhere. So Messi voted for Mbappe in second, and Lamine Yamal in first. I mean, of course, as the Barca family. But yeah, and Vini was very happy to receive his trophy. Aitana is obviously complete non-debate there.
She won every category by like
exactly.
a mile.
She will win everything for both the Ballon d'Or and the best awards. I'm very happy that my boy William Saliba is in the team of the year from the best, in a very unusual left-back position, but it's okay. I think he would still take it.
You weren't here when we did the FIFA Pro Men's and Women's Awards. I did that because I was, I think, last Thursday with Rob Palmer. Yeah. Suffice to say, you were shocked by the nominations to begin with.
Yeah.
and then you put together what your 11 would have been,
Yes.
which looked nothing like the real 11.
I saw. I'm glad I wasn't there.
Yeah. It was-
Definitely. And the best also recognize the top coaches, Gab.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's an obvious parallel between Carlo Ancelotti and Emma Hayes, I think, in the sense that there's a slight similarity, I think, in the way they approach life.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're two phenomenal coaches. Like Ancelotti was always going to win it because he won the Champions League, and that's how these people think. Emma Hayes beat out the Barcelona coach, who's now Jonathan Giraldez, who's now at Washington Spirit.
Yeah.
You're not going to argue with a guy who just never loses and wins every game.
Absolutely.
And then Artur Elias of Brazil, less familiar with him, but presumably really good as well.
Yeah, Brazil had a good year.
Emma Hayes, does that surprise you
She
tiny
won
bit?
the Olympics. In an Olympic year, I think it makes a lot of sense to give it to her. And how she turned things around for the US team and what she achieves, especially with the Olympics, I think made a big favorite before.
Jules, you like your techers, and I invite everybody out there to go back and look at all of these, see if they got it right.
Yeah.
There's the Puskás Award for the best goal of the season, and it was won by Alejandro Garnacho of Manchester United. Yassine Benzia, who is French, but he's plays for Algeria.
Yeah.
Is he Paris
No,
born and
he's
bred?
from Lyon.
Oh,
It's okay.
sorry.
It's okay.
But this is the fun part of football. He plays for Karabag.
Yeah, now, he's had a great career there.
And the other guy's even cooler. The guy who finished third, Dennis Omedi from Uganda. I was not familiar with this guy. I went to his Wikipedia page. Apparently he's like 30 and he started playing last year. I mean, obviously playing at a higher level last year. Great story.
Yeah, great story, great goal.
Marta won. Marta's even weirder story because obviously we know she is. But this is the first year that they have the award.
That's right.
Because before 2024,
And it's not the Puskás Award for the women. It's called the
Marta Award.
Hey! They had to give it to her for the first.
Well, yeah, obviously, before 2024, women, I guess, in FIFA's, you were incapable of scoring
Great
spectacular goals.
Yeah, you're right.
At least we've heard a little bit more about the people who finished second and third. It's Asisat Oshoala from Nigeria, who I think plays in NWSL for Bay FC, I think. And, of course, your girl, Sakina Karchawi. But where does Marto finish first? Did I get this right? Because you're the technical expert here.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's very subjective. You can pick.
But I care about your opinion more than just
I love
Did Garnacho win it because it's a popularity contest? He plays for Manchester United.
No, it's just a lovely overhead kick.
You don't think Omedi's goal was better?
I like Omedi's goal a lot. I like the Benzia goal. I won't lie. Two, I can see people love an overhead kick though. People love that, and the way Garnacho hit it. There was no shin involved. It was just perfect. The cross was actually quite strong. The shape of his body, everything. It was just wonderful. The trajectory of the ball. So I can see what Garnacho won.
I would have voted for Fede Di Marco. And the women's goal?
Marta. I mean, I think this one was a little bit more. Marta is there. It's her award. She's going to retire very soon now. But I would have loved Sakina Karchawi to win. And it's official, Gabi. Vitor Pereira is the new Wolves manager, replacing our friend Gary O'Neill. They will pay reported €1 million to get him out of his contract with Al Shabaab in Saudi Arabia. Uncle George delivers again.
And gets paid again. You run out of things to say here, right? So the narrative that we've been, I don't even know if it's true, but that, the reason Gary O'Neill ended up there is because Jeff Shee, who runs Wolves on behalf of the Chinese oligarch who owns it, said, let's try to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, because before they were all Georgia guys. Lopetegui, Nuno, and Bruno Lage.
And look, goes to pot with Gary O'Neill, so boom, let's bring in this guy. Look, he's in his mid-50s. He's bounced around quite a bit. I think he's a very competent manager. Certainly that's the rep. He's not going to screw things up. But it just reinforces the point. It's the same people who run this club who are also agents. And this is such an obvious conflict of interest that I am just shocked that this is not part of the narrative here in terms of regulation. They've got an independent regulator, the fans. This isn't even a blip.
Yeah.
Nobody sees any issue with this. It's all done. Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting has joined the New York Red Bulls, the man who scored one of the most famous goals in the history of Paris Saint-Germain and made history for Bayern, who could still use him, is gone.
Yeah, it's a good question. That Bayern could have still maybe used him. He hasn't had a club since the summer when he left the club, obviously, as his contract finished. It's
Well rested.
Yeah, it's interesting why he didn't have another club, to be fair, for so long. But hey, I think he can do a decent job. We saw what Emil Forsberg has done with the New York Red Bulls this season, taking them all the way to the MLS Cup final. So I'm all for it. And he's the kind of guy that would do well in MLS, abroad. He's got that great personality, great work ethic, all of that. So
I made this point before, but presumably they knew in the summer that Vincent Kompany wasn't big on Matisse Tell at center forward, or Muller or Musiala at center forward, and I think he probably knew that Harry Kane was in his 30s now and might occasionally need somebody off the bench. Why couldn't you just give him a 1-year deal?
Maybe Kompany didn't fancy him. Maybe he didn't fancy him, or maybe Choupo wanted more than just a year. I don't know. Yeah, it's strange. Moise Kean has released his debut album. That's right, it's him singing, called Chosen. Gab, we've had professional footballers release individual tracks, but he's had time to produce a whole album.
He has. Look, this is not my field. I don't mind rap. I like rap. I like older rap. I don't like contemporary rap. It's just generally not my thing. So I'm not an expert on this. But he takes it very seriously, and he's been working with some really established artists. And so, again, it's called Chosen. It's out there. It's under his stage name, which I don't know. It's like 3 letters, whatever. But he had his launch party. A lot of people came to enjoy it.
Nice.
It was really funny because, you had a bunch of players who are clearly into the scene showing up to it. And then you had Robin Gosens, who showed up looking incredibly German. He had on like a white turtleneck and like a blazer. And everybody else is kind of wearing like hoodies and
like
street
cool
clear.
stuff,
You could not have the more.
Robin.
But Robin Gosens is sweet. Anyway. So good luck to him. If you're into this stuff, let us know. Hit us up on social and tell us if it's actually good or not. I'm sure Mike really cares what you think. Jules, this brings us to an end. But we're not done because we're going to be back on Monday because there is yet more
amazing games this weekend.
Big games this weekend. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, among others.
Spurs Liverpool, of course, on Sunday.
And Tottenham Liverpool. And Tottenham United in a few hours, too.
Yeah.
We might look back on if it's relevant. Until then, love the game. Love your neighbor. Love yourself.